Should have got that off. Okay. Now call to order the Monday. Hold on. We'll call to order the Monday, March 27th, 6:30 meeting of regular meeting of council. Here at our temporary home at 24 Sutton Drive in Johnstown, Ontario. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Stephen Milborn, you have that. Open in front of you.
Moved by myself and seconded by Chris Ford, municipal council approves agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, so presented, I will call the question. All in favor of the agenda? Move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Does anyone have a disclosure to make tonight?
None by name.
Sure.
Well,
You declared it AO. So we need to advise you, but
which one?
County Road 2.
Oh, we're reading that for the bylaw. Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
So you'll be stepping away for item. You can file that paperwork out.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, well. So any other disclosures, pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move on to delegations and presentations, and we have one delegation from Denise Mark. And she will be doing Beacon Bags Incorporated. So come on up, Denise. You have 10 minutes. We're pretty wide open. Wherever you're coming, where without it.
In, oh, there.
You don't have to be able to. No, is that okay?
Okay.
You can be on the camera, don't be on the camera.
So-
Whatever you're comfortable. It's
Fine.
fine.
My main reason for coming this evening is to introduce officially to you Beacon Bags. And so I know maybe some of you have already heard about Beacon Bags. I thought it's time for Beacon Bags to start being officially getting out there. And so I want to tell you where we started, which was 2016. I started making bags. I became aware of human trafficking long before that, but I was so appalled that it could possibly be happening in another country. As I began to learn more about it and find out more, I realized that it's in Canada, it's in Ontario, and it's right here in Leeds and Grenville. And so I couldn't be that person that could just stick my head in the sand and pretend I didn't know what I knew. And I just wanted to reach out and be a part of the solution. So I began to meet with the police and victim services. And I said, I want to do something. So from there, I started Beacon Bags. And Beacon Bags is beautiful bags that we put together with basic necessities. And we give them to anybody that's really involved with the girls hands-on once they've been rescued from human trafficking. And so in there we have leggings, and then we have like lots of toiletries, a notepad, always a pack of gum or Tic Tacs, because I just want them to feel like there's a little bit of extra care put into it. So we give them to victim services, and they then pass them on to a girl that's been picked up. To date, we've given well over 200 bags to victim services. That's local. So that's our Leeds and Grenville's area. And so I just want you to see that I'm bringing it close to home. And so in all of that, and as we've moved along, we've done some awareness walks in Prescott, where we've done it's called Walk for Freedom. And they're very quiet walks. We dress in black. We just want our presence to be their voices, because often they don't feel like they have voices. And so we do that walk in the fall, and I think we started that in 2017. Last year I reached out and I also did one in Cornwall. This year I'm going to expand to Brockville. So I want to expand the brand, the Beacon Bags, just to let people see, you know, that this is indeed something that's happening in our communities. We also do awareness seminars. I have one coming up in May. And those seminars, really, I try to bring a police officer in as well as the victim services. And they share, you know, some of the stats that's happening in our area, as well as some of the girls that they've reached out to. So that's vitally important so that we can see. Our long-term goal is to open a shelter. Here's what's happening. We are picking up those girls and we're taking them to a hotel. It's no one's fault. It's just that the problem has become so huge that we don't have anywhere to take them. We have a few very good long-term care resources in Ontario. The problem is we're getting them to a hotel and we're losing them. So they're either going back on the street for survival sex, or they're going back on the street to their trafficker. They're in a very vulnerable place. So we feel the missing link is a shelter that we could bring those girls into. We would help them. We would have professionals that would come in and help them. And we would get them to a place where we could get them to the long-term care facilities. We feel that that would help the percentage to go higher than what it is right now, because the percentage is low to keep them off the street. I think they say usually it takes about 9 times to keep a girl off the street from her trafficker. What do I want from you tonight? I feel like I just want to let you know this is what I'm doing. I do have a board. I'm a registered charity. I do have a committee. We do events. This year, I'm hoping to do a large event. We're trying to step out of our comfort zone. This is stepping out of my comfort zone. And I just want you to know that this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm all about. So when you see beacon bags, that's what it is. There's where we've come from and there's where we're going. So, and I thank you for letting me come and share tonight.
I'm sure
I appreciate it.
the group will have some
So,
questions. It's
thank you.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
important, absolutely important work. Can't stress enough how
Yeah.
fortunate we are to have you helping with that. But
Thank you.
I'm sure the folks around the table have some questions, and I do for sure.
Okay,
Okay.
and you can follow me on my Beacon Bag page and whatever, yeah, my website, so www.beaconbags.ca. Thank you, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Denise. All right. Who wants to start? I do. Councilor Smith.
Through the mayor, Denise, I have a question for you.
Sorry.
This is not late, so I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay,
Actually, I have 2 questions. So,
Speak quietly if you can.
my first question is, what age do they usually range between?
yeah, so the ages for the medium age, I would say, is from 11 to 17. There are younger. So what's happening is they're being lured online right now. And so when we went into COVID and the children went online, the traffickers went online, the predators went online to lure them. And so when people ask me, should my child listen to one of your awareness talks, I say to them, do they have a device? If they're on a device and they're online, they need to be aware of what's happening with human trafficking. Sadly, that's the stats.
And my
So,
second question is, why doesn't Children's Aid step in? Why do you not take them to them?
pardon me.
Children's Aid, why do you not take them to Children's Aid?
I don't think that, well, I don't, probably the younger children would probably have to go to the Children's Aid unless we had a Children's Aid worker at the shelter. We wouldn't be able to just take one if we didn't have yeah, for sure. They would have to go to Children's Aid. Mostly, I think what we would be getting in the shelter is the older girls. So those older ones that are being rescued, yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So, yes, yeah. So anybody that's underage, like a minor, would have to go through, I'm gonna say Children's Aid and foster care. Yeah, they would. Sadly, sometimes it's not safe for them to go home because sometimes it's not stranger danger anymore. It's sometimes it's family members often that's trafficking them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Joe, anything? No, good, thank you. Okay.
Do you have some dealing with the mayor to do this? Do you have some information for the parents who goes, with their children going through this? It's really helpful for them.
Yeah, so we have
You're
a
saying-
training seminar that we invite parents to come into, and I have one of the gentlemen on my board. He's very well versed and he's always getting information that's out there about trafficking. And we did a seminar not very long ago, an awareness one for just for our board and our committee, so they could be aware. And it was very in-depth and it's deep and it's very, yeah. So, but any parent would be able to come into any awareness talks that we do. And the schools too, that's a good place to have these
Right.
awareness talks. for sure.
Do you have a beacon bag with you?
No,
Okay,
no,
I know, I saw that when I was.
Yes.
So.
I didn't know how much
So-
time I would
okay,
take,
no,
so
that's-
I didn't bring one yet.
But I.
I'm very picky on the bag, so I don't just take any bag. It has to be a certain kind of bag because when the girls receive those bags, I want them to feel valued because they've been cheapened enough in my books. So I want them to feel like someone cares about them, someone values them. I just need them to feel them. So those bags are very important. Even empty, they're not cheap.
No,
So yeah,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Job well done, thank you.
I just had a couple of questions, I guess, more, so, and you don't realize it, that's so close to us around here as well, and so, one of my first questions that was coming up, that is, what can we watch for, like, as people, what kind of things would help us to notice if we?
Yeah, so it's happening in our schools, it's happening in our parking lots. So when girls are getting moved, like we're right on the corridor. So, when they're moving them from Toronto, Kingston to Montreal, up and down to Ottawa, like we're right on that corridor. So, it can be happening in our parking lots. At say a Walmart parking lot where they will stop in and they will traffic the girls. That's literally happening. The high schools, they might have kids that are in there that are just luring those, and there's no stereotype anymore. First they thought, okay, it's that poor girl from, wherever. It's not, it could be a girl from a very good neighborhood and she gets invited to a party and things happen at that party and then they begin to threaten her or her family, if she has siblings that are younger, and so then they have her. Often they will take up to a year to lure the child in, and they will spend a lot of money on that girl because they are going to make a lot of money on that girl. So the little bit that they spend on her in a year, they're making that back in a month. So that's why they're willing to invest a year to lure those girls in. And I just want to state this, that men and boys are also being trafficked. My heart right now is for women and girls, but there are men and boys. It's so much harder for a man or a boy to come forward, and that's too bad. It's harder to get the stats on that. Yeah.
Thank you, I guess, and this is a question, and maybe it's something that the United Counties is already helping with, but it comes to that, I keep saying to myself, like, what can we do to help raise awareness, or
Yeah.
if there's any, any kind of support needed, what can we do to help?
Yeah, and I think that those awareness talks and inviting, so if I have an awareness talks, I would put posters up all through town. I would want the town to come to that, as many people as we can to get into that. And that's why I often think of a police officer involved and victim services. Then people see that and they think this is real, like this is really happening, for them to come in and give us some stats. The last thing you ever want to do is approach a girl that you think might be trafficked or traffic her, because that puts that girl in a lot of danger. She's already in danger, and I've said this at every talk I've ever had, I've always said, do not approach a trafficker or the girl that you think might be trafficked, because what we want to do is be responsible for what she's going to deal with afterwards.
Okay, yeah, I mean, keep us in the loop. I mean, I have your contact information, obviously, for various
Yes.
reasons. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that we'd be willing to help with things like, help to make sure we way to get awareness out there. There's also community organizations that are there that can help to get the word out. I think that's great.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you for all the efforts you're doing. So,
Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions if you'll entertain a couple. Are we gonna see an application to community grants and donations from Beacon Bags?
Are we going to see what, sorry?
Is like council going to see an application for community grants and donation through
Yes.
community grants and donations? So you'll have an asking for us when we review those?
Yes.
Well, I know having a delegation ahead so that we know what's coming forward, it puts it on the radar for us. It's excellent
Yes.
to make sure. So you mentioned that there's an awareness seminar in May.
Yes.
What was the date?
The awareness one is in May,
Yeah. You don't know the date offhand?
not
Can you
right
share-
up, yeah,
can you
no.
share it with
The one that I'm
Staff.
doing, this one will be in Cornwall,
me?
and then I'm gonna plan one for here as well shortly. Yeah, so that'll be, you'll see the posters, you'll see it on my page, you'll see
I
it.
always social, yeah, for
Yes.
sure. So, and I've got a bunch, so, that would help. Sharing of those social media awareness events by like us and
Yeah.
others is
Yeah.
something that
Yeah,
helps.
and having, definitely.
Increases the attendance. Cost roughly per bag.
So a bag empty is, I try to get them on sale. I get them from 31 bags because they have such a lovely, perfect size zipper pouch. And so those bags empty are like $36 to $42, depending. If I can get them on sale, I try to get them a little bit less than that. By the time I fill them, they're well over 50, but I try to get as much of that donated as possible. So I have very good supporters in Legion Grimbo. And so like even the dentists, they will give me like the toothbrush, toothpaste and dental floss, you know, and so I have some very good supporters. If I go to them, I don't have to buy that. So, but the value of it would probably be somewhere between $55 and $60 for sure.
That's
Yeah.
great to know. So, okay, so my ignorance on this, and you'll have to forgive me.
That's okay.
And I know you're here to talk about beacon bags, but I think helping me understand this a little better. We're talking local girls, not just girls that have been brought in from out of the area. You're talking about people that are right here, right from our.
We're talking about, so 92% of girls that are trafficked in Canada are Canadian girls. So when I realized, and not that it's okay to bring it over from another country, but when I realized that our children, our girls are being trafficked, I couldn't stick my head in this and make it go away.
Yeah.
I can't, like, it's like and I don't want to be emotional, but I'll tell you, there's nights when I lay on my pillow and I hear them. Because I know they're out there and I'm not doing enough faster. And so that's why I think this year for me, it's about connecting. I just was approved for affiliate member of the approved professionals, which I feel is a big thing. I think this is important that my townships know what I'm doing. Yeah.
So up through victim services, you've given out over 200 bags.
Well over 2.
And is there a time frame that you gave those? Just like,
I'm gonna say I started giving them out in 2018. So well over 200 since then, and I'm gonna say in the last couple years, I've probably given out since 2020. I'm gonna say 2020 because I don't want to say 2021. I'm gonna say I've probably given out about 80.
okay. And I think my last one is, and I know we're gonna see this in community grants and donations, is there, I mean, I'm obviously you're gonna go and do these presentations at other councils and try to get them on board for this. It's not an easy one to support, but for financial support as well.
Pardon me, so what's the question?
So are you going to visit other
Yes.
councils for
So-
financial support?
I thought that I would do them all individually, and then someone put a bug in my ear that there's a united council that I can just go and do like, say 10, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have to do this like 10 times. So I think in May, I'm gonna go and present to is it called the United Counties?
There's United Counties are the 10 mayors for the municipal.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I will be presenting to them in May. I've been, that's been approved.
Okay, good.
So I'm not kind of looking forward to it, but kind of looking forward.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's
good.
like a practice run tonight.
Yeah. Don't be nervous. Maybe totally honest. I think that's it for my questions. So I just want to say thank you are you done?
I just had one thing that came up in this conversation, and it was more, it's not just the bags from what I gathered at the cost of it, it's also the cost of a hotel. Like if you help somebody then look for a hotel, and I think that's at your dime as well. Is that how I interpreted that? Like that's at Beacon Bags is helping to support that as well. It's not just the bags.
It's not just the bags,
Yeah.
no, and you're right. And so if victim services reach out to me tomorrow and said, Denise, we need this, and this, like say they need a winter jacket, I'd go and buy them a winter jacket. So we've been fundraising. We took advantage of every fundraising thing we could do when the schools were closed. Like we sold pizza, we sold chocolate, whatever we could sell, we sold it. So that we could continue. I knew I couldn't let the plane land just because we had COVID. We did everything COVID friendly. But we went forward even in COVID to continue on, because I knew I couldn't do it from the couch. I knew it wasn't just gonna happen on its own. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Anyone else? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do,
Thank
and thank you for coming tonight. So I don't. Fantastic probably isn't the right description, but you know, the work that you do is so valuable. So
Thank you for having me and giving me so much time. I appreciate it.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move on to number 5A, which is excuse me, we're gonna move on to. That messed me up, but sorry, I'm gonna start it one a little. I know. Okay, we're gonna move on to 5, which are the minutes of the previous council meetings, and we're looking at 5A. And I believe Councillor Martelli.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lottie Smale, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the regular council meeting dated February 27th, 2023.
And they're receiving and approving the minutes for regular council. So I don't have my notes in front of me. Errors and omissions again? Yes. So did anyone notice errors and omissions in the minutes, or the minutes good as I read through my thoughts? They're good. Okay, so call the question then on the minutes. All in favor? Okay. And I believe item B, which is special council on March 23rd, Councillor Smale, you have that item in front of you.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Chris Ward, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the special council meeting dated March 23rd, 2023.
Same thing, errors and omissions. You want to find anything? Oh, all right, call the vote then, all in favor. Okay, so moving on to item 6 then, does anyone have any business arising from either set of those minutes? Questions, comments, nothing? Okay, then we're moving on to the various committee meeting minutes, and we will start with these. We received the poor ones, right? Okay, so we don't check for errors, omissions, anything like that at all. We're just receiving them.
Yeah, that's correct. They're approved and errors and omissions are.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, I believe you have.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ward, that the Scott County receives and minutes, the Port Management Committee meeting dated February 22nd, 2023.
Okay, and we can look there. No, not errors and omissions, but are there any comments or any questions, that sort of thing? Does anyone have any comments or questions with the Port Management? Great, then I'll call the question. All in favor of receiving those? The next set is Committee of the Whole Community Development on March the 6th, 2023. Councillor Chris Ward, you have that item.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lottie Smale, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the committee of the whole community development dated March 6th, 2000.
Okay, and this one we do look for errors and omissions? Yes. Okay, so first we'll start with error or omissions and then I'll ask. So errors and omissions, anyone? Seeing none, and comments, questions?
I guess a business arising, but I know we talked a bit about an opportunity to see if we can have, an occasional, I don't think we actually gave you enough direction, I feel, on having our doors are open meeting in the evening once in a while, so I don't know if we give you enough direction on that, but I think we'd like to have that. I think we've had some more requests that I've had those conversations with about the occasional evening ones making available for during Friday hours. And I know that that's a bit of a thing for us, sort of like that. But,
So discussion. Yeah. You want to-
No, like I think we talked about, it, right? So I don't know if we can have that for doing the conversation at some point. Maybe it is a precedent.
Also, the minutes, and you also discuss it at. Maybe. Okay. All right, further comments or questions on minutes, meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, then I will call the question on the approval of those minutes. All in favor? Public meeting zoning bylaw amendment 3106, County Road 21, March 13th, 2023. Councilor Martel, I think you have that item in front.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Wallace Smale, that the municipal council receives the minutes of the public meeting zoning bylaw amendment 3106, County Road 21, dated March 13th, 2023.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any errors, omissions, comments, questions? All right, and so then we're done. I will call the question on item 7C. All in favor? And item D, which is committee of the whole admin and operations, March 13th, 2023. Councilor Smiley.
Yes, Mayor, it was moved by me, seconded by Councilor Cliff Ward. That the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the committee of the whole administration and operations meeting dated March 13th, 2023.
Very much. Same thing, errors. Anyone? Comments, questions? One, place, three. All right, so I'll call the question on approval of those minutes. Okay, all in favor? All right, so now we will move forward on to action items coming in. So the various committees. So number 8A, which I believe Councilor Martel, you have that.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Wallace Smale, that the municipal council directs staff to proceed with the public meeting to present the proposed amendments to the building fee permit. So building permit fees as amended to merge items number 4 and number 6 and correct item number 8 base fee from $95 to $115 as recommended by the committee of the whole administration and operations.
Thank you very much. So then discussed quite well at the admin and operations committee. I think we've seen it a couple of times at NAP for that schedule. Are there any further comments or debate on this? All right, hearing none, then I will call the question on item 8A. All in favor? Right, so then we're on to the Prescott combined annual summary for the DWS report. Councilor Smith, that one.
As I do here. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Cliff Ward. That the municipal council receives and reviews the 2022 water annual summary report for the Prescott water system as recommended by the committee of the whole administrations and operations.
Thank you very much. All right, are there questions, comments, any further on this item? Anyone?
No, I mean, I just, I guess the water heat really gives us a feeling of satisfaction. It's so many reports are going to, I know we've mentioned a few times, but it is good to see we get such good scores and like we have such low people. So
Yeah, it's safe to say that they take fantastic care of their water. Thank you for those. They're noted. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, so then we are on to Edward Cardinal, DW QMS commitment and endorsement, and Councilor Workman.
Moved by myself, and seconded by Councillor Waddy Snail, that municipal council renew its commitment to the drinking water quality management system for the Cardinal Water and Edwardsburg Industrial Water Park Systems. And two, to authorize staff and top management to sign element 3 of the operational plan to confirm endorsement, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Operations.
Comments, questions from the group? Speaks for itself. Talk about lots of committee, right? So, then I'll call the question. All in favor? We are on to item 8D, which is the winter sand supply tender award, ECPW 23-03. Councilor Martelli, you have that item in front of you.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Waddy Snail, that the municipal council award the winter sand supply tender EC-PW-23-03 to Wellesley Limited at the unit price of $18.60 per metric ton, and authorize staff to execute any necessary contact documents as recommended by the Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations.
Small increase over last year's numbers. Price, comments, questions, anyone have anything further from that? All right, I'll call the question then, all in favor of opposed then? No? That was an approved, yes, something, okay. It's like this slow golf clap there. All right, so next is item E, which is the Croc Rock Tender Award, ECPW 23-04, and Councilor Snail, I believe you have that.
That is correct, Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chris Ward. That the municipal council award supply of fresh rock tender ECPW 23-04 to G Tackleberry and Sons Construction Company Limited at the unit price of $13.74 per metric ton, to a maximum of $103,050 plus non-rebate HST as recommended by the Committee of Whole, Administrations and Operations.
Another small increase over last year, but again, in inflationary times, well under inflation, so. Comments, questions, anyone? No. I just don't see you, Chris. I'll call the question, all in favor? The item 8F, which is the dust suppressant tender award, ECPW 23-05. Councilor Snail, you have that one as well.
Yes, Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chris Ward. That the municipal council award the supply of dust suppressant tender ECPW 23-05 to Dali Dust Control Limited at a unit rate of 0.049 per liter to a maximum of $73,290 plus non-rebate HST as recommended by the Committee of Whole, Administration and Operations.
All right, I think it's been discussed well at admin and operations, certainly something that we need to help keep the dust in control on all of our gravel roads. So further comments, questions from the panel at all? Is there all in favor? Aye. You're stepping away? Stepping away. Just note for the record, in the minutes that the deputy mayor has left the table for, after declaring a disclosure for item 8G, which is the County Road 2 Infrastructure and Road Reconstruction Tender Award, ECTS 22-02. Councillor Ward, do you have that?
I do, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Waddy Snail, that municipal council one award the county road to infrastructure and road reconstruction tender EC-ES 22-02 to Thomas Cavanaugh Limited at a cost of $4,628,297.12 plus non-rebated HST, and two, to direct staff to develop and enter into an agreement with the United Counties of Leeds and Granville outlining the project cost sharing, and three, award the contract administration and site inspection to Jewel Engineering Inc. at an upset limit of $258,158 plus non-rebated HST as recommended by the Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations.
Thank you very much. This one has been a long time coming. I think we've discussed this one over the last year as deputy mayor. We applied and we tried to get funding from other levels of government to help us get a project done that certainly isn't in budgeting that we can afford. So getting that funding from the other levels of government has allowed us to move forward to this project, and certainly will, help, hopefully help with the amount of breaks and the amount of digging up that we have to do. Long over. So well done. Well, it's not done yet. I'll call the question. If there are any further questions or comments on this one?
Mark says it all as we introduce the topic, so you're absolutely right. We've had lots of discussion on this. It's been around for quite some time, and it is good to see that we're able to leverage funding from all sorts of sources so that we can get this to happen, because it is a big item, and it is a thing we couldn't afford on our own. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for this.
Anyone? Good. All in favor? Good. Just want to comment quickly, just in thank staff for their continued resiliency in relation to the Highway 2 project. It's like we said, it's been, I think, grant application after grant application after grant application. Maybe Dave, you were in environmental services when that first one was filed. So thanks for the work that you do, and I look forward to the hopeful completion of that project this year. So all right, item 8H, which is integrity commissioner and closed meeting investigator services agreement. And Councillor Ward, you have that one?
I do, moved by myself, and seconded by Councillor Waddy Snail, that municipal council authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute the integrity commissioner closed meeting investigator services agreement.
Very much. All right, so discussion on appointing Mr. Tony Fleming for integrity commission. Is that wrong? No, it's the agreement with the services.
We've already spoken.
We've already-
This is a form of leading this for the
Right, but that's okay. Anyone on the agreement?
Great, we don't have to use it.
I agree. Good words. Yeah. All right. So everyone's happy with the agreement, powers, the duties, we're good. All right, then I will call the question. All in favor? Moving to number 9, which is correspondence. Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, you have correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Ward. The municipal council received the correspondence listing with the following dates at a previous agreement. March 1st, 2023, March 8th, 2023, March 15th, 2023, March 22nd, 2023.
Thank you. Correspondence comes in from all the other municipalities and organizations across Ontario. Any member of council wants to take something out of correspondence and have it discussed at one of our committees or our council, they're welcome to do so. These are the dates that we can receive and publish those correspondence. So does anyone, we're going to receive the correspondence listings. Anyone have any comments or questions? No. All right, so then all in favor? Simple. Number 10 is the approval of our municipal disbursements. Councillor Martel, you have that item in front of you.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smale, that municipal council approves payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated February 27th, 2023 040 for $136,472.44. Report dated February 28th, 2023 041 for $158,684.17. Report dated March 14th, 2023 048 for $95,587.67. Report dated March 15th, 2023 049 for $227,334.54. Report dated March 21st, 2023 055 for $102,194.38. Report dated March 22nd, 2023 056 for $52,824.25 for a grand total for everyone who hasn't added it up in their head already. $773,097.45.
All right, so we're approving the payment of the municipal invoices circulated and dated as followed, and clerk can correct me as I do every time we do this. This will be the last, is this the last one that we actually approve the disbursements? We will just be receiving them after that, and if we have an issue, then we'll bring up the issue when we receive, but ultimately this gives the approval so that they can be paid, but most of them have already been paid or they have already been paid. So a little small change there in the procedural bylaw, right? Okay, so questions or concerns with any of the municipal disbursements? Does anyone have any questions regarding the disbursements?
I have more of a comment on page 72 and 178. Amounts, aerial services. Tree removal. We have a company that moved in fairly new. On the Glen Smell Road. I'm just wondering, I did approach the roads manager on it. What if we can't have them maybe look at it on a quotation? Or get a quotation from them and see if we can give them some business seen in our township. That's my only concern, is trying to use as many businesses that we have in our township.
Okay, so noted. Questions, any questions or concerns regarding those numbers anywhere? All right, so council approves payment of the municipal invoices. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Sorry. Okay, we're now entering the bylaws. So the zoning bylaw amendment for Meadowlands North subdivisions and their plan, Lockwood Brothers, 2057-876 Ontario Incorporated. Here you have that one in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Ward, that the mover be granted leave to introduce bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2022-37 Sandy Plan Inc. Operating I 2057876 Ontario Inc. Part of lot 5 concession 1 Meadowlands subdivision. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
First and second reading of changes to the zoning of Meadowlands subdivision. Before I call the question on first and second reading, does anyone have any questions or concerns with this before we move to third reading?
I have one, Mr. Mayor, on page 88 of 178. Page 88 of 178. It says that the draft approval was received on November 25th, 2022 by United Counties. And approved, and it's granted until February 8th of 2024 to permit the 80 semi-detached dwellings and 66 townhouses dwellings. What happens if that's not met, which it won't be by February 2024? It says granted until, so does that expire or do they have to go back to the counties to get permission? Just curious on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If they're not at the completed stage at that time, the subdivision would be registered as separate. They would file for another extension. Through the counties and township. Because it would be committee that would be in a reserve capacity that we are taking. So.
All right, so further questions before I call first and second? And we still have third, so first and second, any further comments, questions?
Well, I mean, you know, similar to the deputy there's a point. So, you know, and I'm being optimistic, I guess, at this point, because we're having some discussion on it again, which is good. Are we feeling like they're gonna be starting to put that, or do we have any indication that that's what we're going?
Through the mayor, we did have a meeting with Rockwood Brothers on Friday. Did include the planner and engineer, so certainly working through some items, but all indications are that the developers interested in moving forward and that's as quick as possible.
Thank you. All right, anything else before I call first and second? All right, all in favor of first and second reading? Good, unanimous, we can proceed to the third reading of that bylaw and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell with the bylaw and then the zoning bylaw 2022-37. Zoning Plan 8 operated by 2057876 Ontario Inc. Cutter Lot 5 Concession 1 Meadowland Subdivision. You now read a third time. And finally passed, signed, sealed, numbered 2023-18.
Thank you very much. All right, so questions, comments before we call the question for third reading?
Just excited to hopefully help get this thing going.
Yeah, great. Point out, you know, it's certainly the changes have been brought up through the public meeting process that you know, that process happened back in September of 2021. You know, the changes from a mix of R1 and R2 is basically changing to R1 and R2 areas are being changed to R3 areas. And there's no changes to the open space or the area buffers. So just a culmination of all of that work they've put through to hopefully get this started. So having said that, any comments, questions again one last time? Hearing nothing, then I will call for the bylaw amendment question. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, so we're on to item where are we, 11B? 11B, zoning bylaw amendment, County Road 2, Van Beltran, on behalf of Leader Ogilvy and Councillor Smiley, you have that item.
Yes, Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chris Ward, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2022-37. Van Hellasusen, OB Leader, part of Lot A in Section 1, on address County Road 2. And this shall constitute first and second reading hereof.
All right, first and second reading of the Van Beltran application, yet unaddressed. on County Road Highway 2. Discussed, I think at length a few times. Are there questions or concerns with this one before we move to third reading? Anyone? All right, so I'll call the question then. All in favor? Good, you can proceed to third reading. Councilor.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Chris Ward, that a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2022-37. Then Aldusen, OB leader, part of Lot 8 in Section 1, on address County Road 2, be now read a third and final pass signed sealed number 2023-19.
Great, they've certainly had to do their homework on this property. They've been at this for a long time, still be local sites, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, they've done their, certainly put their work into to make this a reality. Any other comments or questions then before we go ahead?
It'll just be interesting to see the build and see what it looks like at the end. It's gonna be an interesting, you know, build, I guess is what I learned. That's.
Wish them well. Then hearing nothing else, all in favor? All right, is done. Your bylaw is good to go. There are amendments. Okay. So we're zoning bylaw amendment for 3106. This one still makes me laugh because we messed up I messed up the number at the committee meeting. So I chuckle every time I read 3106. Zoning bylaw amendment 3106, County Road 21, which is clear. And Councilor Ward, you have that. They do, yes.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Smail, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2022-37, clearing part of lot 31, concession 6, 3106, County Road 21. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Just a moment. That's okay.
I messed up the address.
No, that would be me. Okay, again, discussed and talk at length at committee on changes to this property. Further comments, questions before we go to third reading? No, all right, then all in favor? It's unanimous. It can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Smail, that a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2022-37, clearly part of lot 31, concession 6, 3106, County Road 21, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-.
So work. So third reading, comments, questions on this before I call third reading? Just has to get it. I agree. Then I will call the question. All in favor? I will say, again, this one has a I believe it's a 2.47 acre lot attached to it that butts into and goes into, if I'm not mistaken, that's correct. Into farmland, and I know as so we'll see something coming forward to hopefully shrink that, you know, lot size up a little bit, so that we can more of the farmland is farmland and have smaller, some of those smaller rural lot sizes. All right, now the big one for tonight, which I guess it's the next two, but 11D, which is the 2023 budget bylaw to adopt the general government estimates for sums required during the year. Deputy Mayor, you have that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt the general government estimate for sums required during the 2023 year. This shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Heavily discussed, job well done by staff and everyone involved. I'm going to call the or I'm gonna look to see if there's comments before I call the question for first and second reading. Any comments before I call first and second? Seeing no comments, I'll call for the vote on the first and second reading. All in favor? Good, it is unanimous on the first and second reading. You may proceed to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ward, that the bylaw adopt general government estimates for some occurred during the 2023 year be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, number 2023-21.
All right, so a bylaw to pass the estimate for the sums required during the 2023 year. Comments, questions on anyone? Before we go any further?
It was an emotional and good process to go through. That's the first time I think we did pretty well. I mean, I'm proud of the work we did here and you know, I mean, it's glad that time to put this rest out and move it. So
I haven't recorded a vote on that, Mr. Mayor, please.
Yeah, certainly. Any further comments or questions before I call the question for the approval of this? No one. All right, then I start at that end, which is Councillor Martel for third reading. How do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Smale. Yay. Councillor Ward.
Yay.
Deputy Mayor.
Yay.
And I vote yay, just 5. It's a nil, unanimous budget. That is simple. So. There we go. All right, so. I think I'll do it now. I just again want to thank staff for the great job that you're at. Do I need to wait for the clerk to come back or we're good? Want to thank staff for you know, it's a new council. It's definitely a different direction from this group of at the table. It's a different feeling. The budget process, I think, was fantastic, quite honestly. This time I think it was really well done by staff. We certainly had some spirited discussions here at the table, but I think staff recognized the areas that we wanted to work on, and I think we as a group, especially in this first budget, recognized very well the areas that we needed to focus on with staff, and staff made us well aware of those areas as well. So well done to everyone involved. Staff is the best process that I've been involved in so far. So thank you to everyone, and I guess that goes to the folks on this side as well. Thanks for the work that you guys did for this as well. So 2.63, I guess, is our number for this, and we'll discuss that, I guess in the next two, right? So okay. So third and final, I did that. So then we're moving on to the actual 2023 rates, and Councillor Martel, you have that one.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wally Smale, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to provide for the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalty and interest in default of payments thereof for 2023. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Again, thank you. We're gonna pass the actual rates now. Yeah, so for the different classifications. So this will put in to apply the rate to these different specifications of the adoption of the rates for those. So this first and second readings. Anyone have any comments or questions on first and second reading at all? No, hearing none. All right, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. We can go to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wally Smale, that a bylaw to provide for the adoption of tax rates and to provide for penalty and interest in default or payment thereof for 2023 now be read a third time and finally passed, sealed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-22.
Questions, concerns before we pass 38? Good, then I will call for the question. All in favor? I need to keep my paperwork in order. He's tried ready yet? Just for information purposes, that is 21 pages plus A and B for all of the first and second readings that we're using for that. I'll be glad when it's digital as opposed to when it's hard to keep all that stuff straight. So just for the record to through the CAO to the treasurer, 2.63 for tax rate for the township portion. The combined portion, I think I'm going by memory, I don't have it written in front of me, but I think with the counties, it was 6.87. So the blended rate that, you know, with the United Counties portion and then our portion, we'll see 3.612.
That was what was to the check, I think that was what was in.
Is that correct? I don't have it in front of me, but I just for the know that the media hasn't been attending meetings, that they're using a lot of the videos for our meetings, and I want to make sure that they have the accurate numbers. If not, we can correct it. We can correct it later on. But I think the blended, the two important numbers are the 2.63 is the township allocation. For that, there's no increase for the municipal or for the provincial school tax, and I think the United Counties portion was a 6.87 increase, and I think the blended, when they're blended together, it equaled out to was 3.61. It was something very close to that. So all that info would be in the minutes of the last. Okay. Awesome. And again, I think I've echoed it before, but to all members of staff, to the CAO, if we can pass it on to, the directors, the department heads and stuff that aren't here tonight. I think I can speak on behalf of council for this one to say job well done to all staff. And thank them for us. All right, so let's move on then to our item 11F, which is Rio St. Lawrence agreement, and Councillor Martel, you have that.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Marcus Mail, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement with Rio St. Lawrence Utilities Incorporated for water, sewer, meter reading and billing, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Great. No agreement with Rio St. Lawrence, first and second reading. Does anyone have any concerns or comments before I call the question for first and second reading? All in favor? So you can go to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ronnie Smale, that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with Rio St. Lawrence Utilities Incorporated for water, sewer, meter reading and billing be now read a third time, excuse me, and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-23.
So we've got the agreement in front of us that has a few small increases recognized in it, right? The AMI and item, I guess on page 117, 178, it outlines those small increases per month. Any comments, any further questions? All right, hearing none, I will call the question then. All in favor? All right, so let's switch the item 11G, which is the use of Stafford road on open road allowance agreement, and that is Councilor Martello.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Lonnie Smale, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an unopened road allowance license agreement with Trans Northern Pipeline Incorporated, and this shall constitute first and second reading.
Great, first and second reading for the Trans Northern Pipeline work that needs to be done on that pipeline using Stafford Road to access that area. So first and second, any comments or concerns?
A little bit, and I can't remember if I'm thinking the deputy mayor or thinking Mr. Hunter, but it was really good to have the context of this discussion we had. Just understand this is something that's commonly done, because when I first saw it, I thought it was a bigger deal than there was. So like I said, I appreciate the context of the discussion we had with this.
Good. Thank you for those comments. Anything further? All right, I will call the question then on first and second reading. All in favor? Can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Lonnie Smale, that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an unopened road allowance license agreement with Trans Northern Pipeline Incorporated, and now read a third time and finally passed, signed and sealed, and numbered 2023-24.
Comments again, questions, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, so we're moving on to 11.8. Which is our procedural bylaw, and it is the third and final reading of the bylaw, and Councilor Chris Ward, you have that one in front of you.
I do. Resolution number, sorry. By myself and seconded by Councilor Lonnie Smale, that a bylaw to cover the proceedings of council and committees be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-1.
All right, so the update, the many updates to the procedural bylaw, I think from an openness and transparency. I believe that this is, where all of our committees will now be on. Am I correct in that? Is this is our committee bylaw, like the procedural bylaw? This will put our court meetings on camera, correct?
Chair, that was under our meeting recording policy.
That was under the meeting.
Procedural bylaw, closed section.
Closed session. That's right. That's the biggest change in there is, and the ability to, if needed, contribute via Zoom as well. Is that
electronic participation and the incorporation of future consent meetings.
right? Consent agenda was the other major one as well. Okay, so, and this is third reading for that. So from an openness and transparency perspective, the closed session meetings will actually be recorded if they're ever needed for review by ombudsman or integrity commissioner. Any comments or questions before I call the third reading for a question?
I'll say it that way. Right. So to your point, I want to thank staff. We had a good discussion about consent agenda, and it was really it was a big cloud of misunderstanding at first, which is really appreciated. You had the conversation with that. And I feel as far as transparency is important to me. So I'm glad that we had the decision to also bring in or having the decision to record those closed session meetings. So that's I'm just all in favor of that, as well as I know we went through a lot of stuff on, and I believe it's in here, but I can't remember now. The careful wording of how we restructure all our Mondays to be, or Mondays needs to be on Mondays now to make it more aligned like that. So I think that all the things I think among other things, were really important to get out there, and I'm glad we're doing that, we're getting it done. I hope it makes it easier going forward, so.
Yeah, great, great comments, and I think it's worthwhile noting that. You know, there are changes in this, and if anyone ever feels strongly enough that it needs to be amended, the bylaw could at any time be amended to make changes or things that are decided or want to bring it back for a discussion at a further time to update it again, if we feel that something's either not working or needs to be adjusted. So certainly a living document, and it's not it's set in stone by this, but it's a living document that can be altered at any time. So comments from the left side of the table? Record it again, please. And which do I have the right one? Proceedings of committee council, right? Okay, so that would be. Okay, and. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so Councilor Martello.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna call it. Is there further comments before I? Okay, so Councilor Martello, yay. Councilor Smale? Yay. Councilor Ward? Yay. Deputy Mayor? Yay. And I'm a yay. I go again, like, unanimous vote. So our procedural bylaw is now in effect. That was a long time and a lot of hard work on, I think you said that already, but a lot of fine tuning, and I look forward to, you know, getting moving with those changes, getting them implemented and seeing hopefully the efficiencies that come from a lot of that. Doesn't change the discussions as we're seeing tonight. There's very rarely discussions on a lot of the what would be considered consent agenda items. But like you said earlier, anytime anyone wants something brought out of a consent agenda item, you know, or a consent agenda, you know, any one of these could have been pulled out. All the person or member of council has to do is ask for further discussion. It gets pulled out of the consent agenda, and we focus our time and discussion on that item, and not ones that have already been very thoroughly debated and discussed at committee level with input from our committee members. So looking forward to that. You know, I know for some time we certainly everybody around this table, we've always talked about openness and transparency and accountability, and I think that the recording, the closed session recording meeting policy is fantastic, and it's nice to know that that'll be in place as well to make sure that, you know, those proceedings are governed well. So thank you to staff and for the hard work that everyone put in those items. So well done. All right, so pretty quiet. Moving on then to number 12, which is the CAO's administrative update. Councillor Smale, we'll put it on the floor first, CAO, and then if you want to just do a quick presentation on your or with your update. Councillor Smale, can you bring that forward?
Thank you, Mayor. Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Chris Ward. But the municipal council received CAO administrative report as presented.
That was a close one. All right, let's hear your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just highlight a few areas with respect to senior management team. We're working on the proposed level of service and the life cycle management financial strategies for each asset category to sort of advance our asset plan. So staff and council can look to over the next year to have several discussions with respect to level of service and those financial strategies. We'll work on putting forth the first draft for discussion, which will probably come in the second quarter of this year. Under the digital mainstream, so the position has been filled. It's Dario Belay, I believe is the correct pronunciation of the last name, but I may be correct. He'll be starting April 3rd, so we're certainly excited to see what we can continue to accomplish with that program we've had some great success within, Augusta, Prescott, and Everett Cardinal. A couple, committee of, the committee of adjustment will be hearing 2 applications on April 5th, one on Dundas Street, which, will reduce the front yard setback from, traditional 7.5 meters to 3 meters. That will allow the 30-meter setback from the water to be met, and the plan would be for a single family dwelling to be built on that property. And the second application is just a condition of severance, which would recognize the deficiency in lot area, lot frontage and setbacks on the property on Lower Street and 2162 Dundas Street. Now that we're approaching into spring and bylaw, just that friendly reminder in the text insert with respect to spring cleanup efforts. So hopefully that will get individuals energized to clean up certain yards within the community. Under Treasury, page 2, Treasurer's been busy with a number of the progress reports that come out normally at the first quarter of the year with respect to the OCDF and what was the formal gas tax, the CCDF that have been completed. And if I'm not mistaken, the progress report for Canada 2 has been submitted. Or will be submitted this week. Under facilities and recreation, I guess of note, the seasonal market will be taking place at the Spencerville Arena on April 8th and 9th. And the organizers of that event have partnered with the Spencerville Business Association. The Leo Boyden tournament. My understanding is that it was quite a successful weekend, and I believe the canteen sales in the 2 days were busier than last year's 3 days. So that's quite a positive. Summer programs, the summer day camp will open up on April 3rd. And this is the second round of the art class program, and it was sold out again, and some positive feedback with respect to the art class. Under public works, we've got a tender closing tomorrow at 2 p.m. with respect to the Ventnor Bridge repair. And I guess of note, staff and the mayor was present for the an introductory meeting with Val, and also the public works manager and director of operations met with Explore with respect to some upcoming projects under the universal broadband fund and the for accelerated high-speed internet programs. And Val was actually looking at a few programs that are actually outside of the funding, and we'll be able to provide some more information in the next little while on those programs. With respect to environmental services, there have been a number of the smaller capital projects that have been undertaken during the last month. I guess of note, the semi-annual generator inspections on a number of the systems that have taken place, and the annual changing out of the UV lamps on our small drinking water systems, which is this building, municipal office, Spencerville Fire Hall, to name a few. Under municipal drains, looks like the Ferguson drain will begin after enough loads and expected to be completed by September. Newport Drain was speaking with the consultant today, And it looks like that tender will be issued later this week with the rough closing of April 18th. And the tender will require that work to be done by the end of September as well. Under fire department, I guess of note, the firefighter one NFPA is progressing well, and they've been to the Lyndhurst Training Center for 2 days of practical evolution. Will be later in April. I believe tanker one will be in service by the end of this month. Or
The chair,
hopefully, okay, or early April, how's that? We'll put that in. I guess of note with under fire prevention, couple of items. Sadly, this was the worst year in decades for fire-related deaths in Ontario. So the Office of the Fire Marshals announced Operation Safer, which is smoke alarms in every residence. And they'll have a summit being held June 13th and 14th. I guess on a positive note, with respect to the Fire Chiefs Association, completed their countywide food drive. 4,000 pounds of food and $8,500 in contributions. So that campaign was very successful, and they'll look to run that again, I guess, in 2024. I guess the note under the Eastern Ontario Firefighters Association convention, I guess one of the highlights will be that Navy Air Force will be potentially doing the flyover, and we'll have a ceremony on guard for the community. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over for any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. CEO. So certainly shows, how much is going on in the township, and that all the departments are really busy. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going down the line. Questions, comments?
I mean, this is probably just a newness thing, but I was glad to see it. I don't know if it's something you do all the time, or whenever we have committee adjustment, just a brief summary of what's going on. I appreciate putting that in there. So, thank you for that.
Yes, Spencerville Arena duly chair to the CEO. Will pickleball be going on again this summer? In that I see our facility man is not here, so. Or can you get back to me on that? I'm not sure.
I think we were just planning to run that pilot last year, but if there's interest again, doing that program again this year, we're going to see if we can get that up.
Good. And to the chair, maybe to the chief. Tanker one, is that our new tanker? That we had to financially?
The chair, yes, it was.
And we fixed it, so taking it back to the company.
To the chair, the company had an opportunity to repair it, and it was unsuccessful, so we figured it was easier to fix it in-house, so it wasn't making the trip, the full day down, full day back to go to front of it, so. It was probably a 4 hour.
So we won't avoid the warranty or anything on it. It's good. Thank you. Yeah, good. Thank you, Smith.
Just one through the chair to the fire chief too. We know why it was the worst year in decades for deaths in Ontario. Was the reasoning behind that? A COVID related thing?
Through the chair, they didn't really get into specifics. I think there was 33 deaths in Ontario last year, which was quite a bit higher than obviously recently. And I'm assuming that those are the basic things that they'll be talking about at this summit, and come up with some strategy to those who make it better.
What is the norm?
I would just be guessing, but I would think somewhere in the area of 10 to 20, if we know about more of a normal year. That's for the problem.
I do have a couple. Going to the building portion, it says that there are 12 permits, have been issued. Is that since January 1 that those 12 permits been issued?
Yeah, that is correct.
And how does that relate back to a normal year?
I would say at this point, it's probably a little slower than. I would say 2020, but I would say fairly comparable to.
And bumping ahead again to what I think is recreation and the date I think is worth noting is April 3rd, and that's for the daycare spots. For the sign up for those daycare spots, which the day camps or not daycare, day camp spots. And it's pretty competitive sometimes to get those spots. Do you have, and I know typically the rec director is probably the go-to for this, but how many spots are actually available between the two locations, what the costs are? Just in case it goes on the media, that's all.
Yeah, through the video, I'm anticipating that early this week, there will be a social media post, with all that information. I don't have the exact number.
Okay, and my last one, which isn't on your report, but it's certainly a question that we like to have Mr. Spencer in here again. It is the end of March. We do have fishing season directly around the corner. Walleye season will be fast upon us. When can we expect the docks in by? And I know you don't know, but
So, I think it's fair to say that. Move back and then soon as we can, but be well in advance of openings.
good. That's all that I have on my little list of jabs. Anyone else spur anything further? You good? Okay, then I will call the question on the receiving the CEO's administration report as it was presented. All in favor? We can move on to. We are on. Let's go. Counselor inquiries and notices of motion. Does anyone have any inquiries or notices of motion?
It's not a notice of motion, I just want to say, yet again, this time I think it's different to say it here, but I really appreciate the Cardinal Ladies Auxiliary for feeding me breakfast again on Sunday. You did a great job at Legion having me breakfast, and it just shows part of the community. There's so many people there from not just our community, but from other neighboring communities, and it's just good to see that brings everybody together. And there were some hockey players there as well that showed up very late, so it's just really, it just shows community spirit. So I think them for representing helping to contribute to that.
Great for recognizing that. It's the Legion certainly making a renewed effort, and it's starting to show. Yeah, it's good. This side, inquiries or notices of motion at all? No. Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to the mayor's report, which is very, very brief and very few comments. I think that'll make everybody happy. First, I want to thank, or I just want to comment, I guess, on the record as part of the report. We will have and the CAO can correct me on the date of this. I believe this Thursday, which is the 30th, is our meeting with Prescott to discuss their providing our water to the township. Am I correct on that?
Mr. Mayor, it would be the joint management board with Prescott Wastewater.
Yeah, okay. And so my reason for mentioning it in mayor's report is that task is upcoming. Prescott originally had those rates included and embedded in their budget process. I just wanted to, on the record, compliment them for removing that portion from their budget approval and putting it off until this discussion on approving the budget and those things for this April meeting. Good show of spirit We're only one vote on five. I believe it's a 5-member panel, but I think it's worthwhile noting, and I certainly want to thank the group of Prescott for having the respect for this township and this council as a part owner. You know, of putting off the approval of that budget until we at least have a meeting of that committee. So thanks to them. And I think the last one is a compliment, and it'll go to I'll start with staff. Certainly one of the busiest weekends that I can ever remember. Definitely one of the busiest days yesterday at the Cardinal Arena that I can ever remember. You know, full U18 slate of hockey, fantastic hockey, and then a junior game to boot after that. So very full, very busy, you know, arena, which means a very, very busy weekend for staff, dealing with a lot of issues that arise during the U18 tournament. So well done to, if that can be pushed through to recreation staff, to canteen staff, to anyone that was involved in that from a staff standpoint. I think I only heard positives from everyone involved at the rink and from the fans and stuff. And lastly, to South Grenville Minor Hockey and the guys in the row that are organize and do such a great job year after year on that Leo tournament. Well done. I know they did $1,000 donation back as well, and I just wanted to compliment them on that. You know, and the last little comment would be, it certainly underlines and we don't have that many busy tournaments or that sort of amount of need for parking, but it certainly outlined the need for parking. There weren't too many streets on the north side of town that didn't have cars parked on them. It was a busy weekend. So yeah, even that. So well done to everyone involved in the tournament this weekend. And that's it for the mayor's report. I probably should have let you read that before we discussed it or before I made it. So if you bring that motion forward, that'd be great.
Okay, moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell. The Minnesota Council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. All right, comments or questions on the mayor's report? Concerns? Then all in favor of receiving the mayor's report? All right, so question period. Do we have any questions from media or from members of public? No. Worthwhile noting, the only member of public is no longer here. They're gone. And the rest is staff. So no questions for question period. I should have a motion by Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh to move into closed session. I'll have you bring that motion forward now, and then we'll take a brief recess. So bring the closed session motion forward. Deputy Mayor,
At this time.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Smell that the Municipal Council proceeds in a closed session at 8:04 p.m. in order to address a matter pertaining to section 2392B, personal matters of the federal individual, identifiable individual, including municipality or local board employees. Minutes of closed session dated February 27th. 2023, section 2392C, proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality and local board, specifically Edwardsburg Land Bank.
So before we proceed into closed session, any comments or questions about proceeding into closed session? No questions. All right, all in favor of going into closed session? Approved, and we will take a 5-minute break while staff leaves and start it. Okay, so who has the coming out of closed session? You have coming out of closed session. You ready? Yep.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Mr. Smell that the closed meeting municipal council will now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 9:06.
PM, not AM.
PM,
So, thanks. All right, so I have to call the question on this and then I will report out. So, all in favor of coming out of closed session and back into open session? Yes, unanimous. Bear with me for 2 seconds. All right, so municipal council went into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to section 239. Specifically the closed minutes of session dated February 27th, 2023. And we provided direction to staff in regard to the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically the Edwardsburg Cardinal land bank. And that's all I need to do with that, right? I don't call a question on that one. And then, so then we get to 18, which is the confirmation bylaw. And I told sorry, what do I?
Motion to approve.
Oh, the minutes, right, right, sorry, I didn't. Is there a motion for that?
I've got it. It's 16A.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed it there, sorry, we do need to do that, sorry, my bad.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bonnie Smale, that municipal council receives and approves the closed session meeting. Closed session minutes dated February 27th, 2023.
Good, thank you. All in favor of those minutes? Good. All right, I reported out ahead of those, right? So, so then now we are on the confirmation bylaw, correct? Sorry about being out of order there. Council.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Snail, that a bylaw to adopt, confirm and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-26.
Confirmation bylaw ratifying everything that we dealt with tonight. All in favor? Good, and our last one is adjournment from Councilor Snail, I believe you have that.
Yes, we're doing there. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor President. That the municipal council is now adjourned at 9:11 p.m.
All in favor? Non-debatable? No, yeah, 9:11. Oh.